Welcome Minnesota Sports Talk. I'm Josh Coan.
I'm Carter Burquest.
Well, Joe Mauer made it official. He is done, retired from Major League Baseball, which we kind of thought maybe was going to happen with the way that he ended, last season with him finally getting to catch again, which was really cool to see. Brought a few tears to my eyes. I'm sure plenty of people crying around Twins territory. So let's talk about Joe Mauer. Towards the end of his career, he had the big contract. Maybe didn't have the production that some people wanted. A lot of negative Twins fans about Joe Mauer, at least especially over the last few years. How will you remember Joe Mauer now that he's gone?
Yeah, it's really weird to think that Joe Mauer's not going to be on the Minnesota Twins anymore. Since I've been watching baseball as long as I can remember, Joe Mauer has been the cornerstone of the Twins. So it's going to be really weird for me, especially as somebody who's a little bit younger, to start watching the Twins without this iconic figure in Joe Mauer. I'm going to remember Joe Mauer very positively. I know the contract is what it is. People were very upset about how he played, but quite honestly, the Twins gave him the money. He signed it. He's not going to turn away that kind of money. He deserved it when he got it. He did have some concussion and some health issues, which weren't necessarily his fault. But overall, an absolute class act. You couldn't ask for a better player in the organization and somebody for all the Twins fans and all the kids in Minnesota to look up to. Joe Mauer is absolutely the person that you want your kids to model not only their baseball game after, but the way they live their life. So that is a great aspect of Joe Mauer. I'm not really going to worry about the contract. He was just a lot of fun to watch. Somebody who was the best catcher in the game when he was there, and then provided a lot of big moments for the Twins. Had that great MVP season, was great a part of those really good Twins teams those last years in the Dome. Hasn't been great these last few years in Target Field. However, somebody who always came to work every single day, you never heard him complain, was somebody that never was a diva, somebody that just went about his day in and day out as a good teammate, and that's how I'm going to remember Joe Mauer.
Yeah, I'm a few years older than you are, so I actually remember the Twins before Joe Mauer and how bad the Twins were in between kind of the Puckett-Mauer days before, Torrey Hunter and Mauer and Morneau, before they kind of brought new life to that Twins organization. It's almost an insult, although it's not, it's a compliment, but for people to talk about how good of a guy he is, because I think that we think more about him as a good guy than a good baseball player, which that's a good thing, right? In life, I'd rather be known as a good person than good at my job, but it seems almost like an insult, like we're like, oh yeah, Joe Mauer was good at baseball, but he was a really great guy. But he was actually really great at baseball too. Like, we got so used to Joe Mauer and his consistency that even towards the end, when he had that huge number and he was probably making more than he should at that time, he was still consistent. Yeah, he had the injuries, he had problems, but he was still a good baseball player. He wasn't hitting for power, like that's what people want to see, is home runs and things, and he wasn't doing that, but his consistency towards the end there, he was still Joe Mauer. And he never let the highs and the lows, even making fun of him, he never let the highs get too high or the lows get too low, even kill Joe Mauer. He was just exactly the same Joe Mauer every single time. He could have got frustrated when the teams weren't winning towards the end. He didn't. He still went out there and did his job every single time. So I appreciate that for Joe Mauer. Obviously, the local kid, the local angle makes him fun to cheer for. To see him have success at that level. The contract, people make too big of a deal about it because, in my opinion, there's no salary cap in baseball. So in my opinion, if you think he's worth that money, you give him that money, and then you sacrifice to spend more money on other people. It's not like they had to pay less guys because Joe Mauer is making so much money. It's not like he had a percentage of the cap. Yeah, he was making a lot of money, but you can still go out and sign other guys. There's no cap in baseball. Minnesota doesn't get a lot of MVPs, so for him to win an MVP, really in any sport, so for him to win an MVP is a big deal. National recognition, he's somebody that really, we talk about Adam Thielen now. Mauer's one of those guys who really grew beyond a good story, beyond, a hometown kid. He really became a national household name, and that's rare and it's special. So at the end of the day, Joe Mauer is someone that I can tell my children about. When I have kids, I can say, yeah, I watched Joe Mauer play. And I think that's a big deal. I think he absolutely should get one of those statues in front of Target Field. I don't know how you don't give him one. I know we have a lot, so you got to make room for him, but I hope people didn't take for granted that they got to watch Joe Mauer.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%. He's going to get a statue, and he deserves a statue. He's one of the greatest Twins of all time. And I think the one word you said that really sums up Joe Mauer is consistent. He was a guy that, when you look at his first hit and his last hit, they look almost identical. It's kind of eerie. He played the same way throughout his whole career. It was a lot of fun to watch, a lot of big hits, a lot of fun moments, and was definitely a guy that you wanted to root for and was the core of a franchise for 15 years, and that's something to be celebrated. We're going to miss Joe Mauer. It'll be exciting to go into this next era of Twins baseball, but we thank you for what you did, and we had a lot of fun watching. At least I know I did, and I'm sure most fans out there did as well.
I'll give you everything you said except for excited about this next era of Twins baseball. We'll do another video another time. We won't let this take away from what Joe Mauer did. We'll make this video all about Joe Mauer, but we'll do another video and talking about the next era of Twins baseball and how scared I am to move on beyond the Joe Mauer era. But this video is about Joe. Thank you, Joe. We appreciate everything you did for us. We'll miss watching him for sure. Thanks for watching. You guys let us know what you think. How will you remember Joe Mauer? Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
See ya.